Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching 5th part of What If Naruto Found Hidden Lab in Waves. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Wave Academy, Main Lab, July 21st, 9:20 a.m. The contents of the note shocked Naruto as he read it. Beginning letter. My precious little princess. Let me start by saying that I never wanted to leave you at the orphanage, but I had no choice because you are my most precious treasure. Let me introduce myself. My name is Itachi Uchiha, and I am your father. You've probably already heard about what happened to our clan and that I was responsible for killing everyone. You must understand, Aisha, that our clan was once a powerful family, but they allowed power to corrupt them. They thought we were invincible because we had the Sharingan, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Because of their arrogance, I was forced to kill everyone except you and your uncle Sasuke. The truth is that our clan intended to overthrow the Hokage and kill him in order to take over the village. They saw it as their right to do so. When I found out about this, I decided that my honor to the village was more important. So I started spying on our family and reporting back to the Hokage. When we realized there was nothing we could do to stop this plot, the Hokage and the elders asked me to kill them. Originally, I planned to only kill the main characters in the plot, but then another man appeared and began slaughtering everyone else. I immediately worried about your safety, so I placed you in the orphanage, hoping that the village would believe Sasuke was the sole survivor, and I took the blame so that one day I could find and kill the man who did it. You're probably wondering why I didn't place you with your mother. I'm sorry to have to inform you of this in writing. Her name was Maho, and the pregnancy was too much for her. She died a few days before the massacre. We had kept her pregnancy hidden from the family and the village because she was not a Uchiha, and it was frowned upon to marry outside the family. I can only hope and pray that you will be as lovely as she was. She was a kunoichi and one of the most powerful women I'd ever met. She was intelligent, kind, and compassionate, but most importantly, she was my friend. If you decide to become a kunoichi and awaken your Sharingan, do not let it control you. It does not make you invincible, but rather a burden. At the bottom of this letter, you will find a blood storage seal similar to the one on the locket, as well as an album of photos of myself, your mother, and your grandmother Makoto, as well as your mother's jewelry box and all the money in our accounts before I left the village, as well as a few scrolls. I know this will never make up for not knowing us, and I apologize. Do not let Sasuke or the elders control you, Aisha. I believe the elders in the village will raise Sasuke to be arrogant. If you do awaken your Sharingan, do not seek his assistance. You are my daughter, and I believe you will be able to master it on your own, grow strong, set goals for yourself, and become your own person. Goodbye, my little princess, and please know that I will always love you. P.S. As your father, I'm only asking you not to date boys until you're 16. Letter terminated. Naruto looked at Aisha after finishing the letter. She'd buried her face in Kushina's chest and muffled crying could be heard. He approaches her and gets down on one knee. Everything will be fine, Aisha. He was the only one who was surprised when she opened her eyes. They were red instead of onyx, and both had a single tone. She'd activated her Sharingan. Naruto takes a quick glance at his father. How can that be? She's only 5 years old. Minato sighs and shakes his head. The secret of bloodlines is that sometimes you have to put the person under extreme stress, which can be fear, anger, or even sadness, so you can awaken them at a young age. Aisha raises her eyes to her older brother. Does this mean I'll be bad because of what my father did? Naruto rubs her back gently. No. I don't want to hear you say that again. You are not bad. Your father did what he thought was right. He was willing to become the bad guy in order to save the village and his family, and for that I can agree and respect him. You can see in this letter that he wants you to set goals for yourself and become your own person. Makoto, I met your grandmother, and she was one of the nicest people I'd ever met. She always had a smile on her face whenever I saw her. She stands up and looks up at Naruto. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become the strongest kunoichi ever to live and restore the honor of the Uchiha family name, despite the fact that my name is Uzumaki. Will you assist me in training Big Brother? Naruto burst out laughing. Of course I will, and I'm sure your grandpa and grandma want to help you as well. Just keep in mind that no boys until you're 16, I agree with your father on that. Aisha grinned. I'm not sure, but there was a cute boy in the village. She then smiled even wider, almost deviously. When Naruto's face turned almost white, Kushina and Minato laughed. Location is unknown. Two figures walked down the street wearing black cloaks with red clouds and straw hats. The taller of the two was looking to the right, while the shorter had come to a halt and was looking to the east. Is everything all right, Itachi? Everything is fine. Let us proceed with the mission. Itachi replied without turning around, but he has the uneasy feeling that something is wrong. Wave Academy, main laboratory. Naruto looked at his father. So, you want to help me do the training today while everyone else is in class, and then we can meet Fumi and her clan and help them set up a compound? Then we can go to the wagons and see what the auction brought in. That sounds good to me, but how about your mother? Naruto grinned. She snuck out with Aisha just now while we were distracted. Minato looked around for his wife, but she was no longer there. She's almost certainly in the training room with all the kids, so let's get to training and then go out and do those other errands. Yamanaka Flower Shop, Konoha, July 25, 10:34 a.m. Ino sat at the counter, her head down and her thoughts racing. Her team and their parents met with the Inuzuka clan, specifically Sume, a few days ago to learn who Naruto's parents were. To say she was taken aback would be the understatement of the year. Since then, she's been reminiscing about the hyperactive blonde and how she'd kept her friendship with him hidden because he didn't want her to be hurt. She had decided late the first night that she would no longer conceal her friendship with Naruto. Ino stood up straight when he heard the sound of a bell overhead. Thank you for visiting the Yamanaka Flower Shop. How may I assist you? She recited the greeting she'd learned as a child, but instead of smiling, her face was filled with rage because the person standing in the door was Sakura Haruno. Ino stormed around the counter, straight at her. What are you doing here, you flat-chested babe? Ino screamed. Sakura took a step back, taken aback. What's the matter, Ino? Ino stormed over to Sakura without missing a beat. I heard what you said about Naruto, and I only recently discovered who his parents were. She screamed in rage, then slammed a powerful kick into Sakura's pussy, dropping her to her knees, then to her forehead, hands pressed between her legs. Ino shut the door, flipped the sign to closed, and closed the curtains so no one could see in before cracking her knuckles on her palms. It's about time Sakura met Konoha's yellow rose and discovered why no one bothers her garden's sole occupant. She said, referring to Naruto, and then made a casual-looking gesture with her right hand that no one would recognize as a hand sign because she designed it specifically to appear casual. Ino walked back to Sakura and yanked her to her feet with a handful of long pink hair, her special abilities now activated. Ino followed her out into the street, his face tense, and tossed Sakura's shirt to the ground near her feet. And if you do it again, I'll do something far worse than humiliate you. Tenten and Neji were in the crowd. Shikamaru and Choji were obviously on their way to her shop to invite her to lunch, as they often did. Shino was there. Then Kiba showed up and she was the only person who noticed, for a minute or so anyway before Sakura grabbed her shirt, bra, and dashed away crying. despite the fact that Akamaru was on Kiba's head, Akamaru's head was pink. She also noticed Noriko run into her store a few moments before Kiba arrived, with pink paint splattered on her shirt. The crowd burst out laughing after a few moments, and Kiba asked if she'd seen Noriko. She took off in that direction. After Kiba ran away, she turned to her teammates, Shika smirking and Choji blushing. "Are you coming to invite me to lunch?" They both nodded. She checked the road to make sure it was clear. "He's fine, Noriko, you can come out now." A few moments later, the nervous Noriko emerged. "Do you mind if I keep you company?" She deserves a reward for painting Akamaru pink. "Do you like grilled pork?" Choji inquired, and Noriko vigorously nodded. "Of course, I'll pay for her, but if Kiba sees her, you'll have to deal with him, not me." Shikamaru stated this. "Sure. Give me a minute to close up." Ino responded, then closed her mouth and took Noriko's hand in hers to lead her to the restaurant. The Hokage Tower. Hiruzen sat at his desk, doing paperwork with the assistance of several shadow clones. He was still reeling from Naruto's revelation of the law that his late sensei had passed shortly before his death, which had dealt a serious blow to his sense of duty as Hokage. That Naruto was able to reveal a law that should have been public knowledge made him regret being too lenient and carefree, so he took a few days and went back through the books on all the laws that had been passed since Konoha was founded, and discovered dozens of other laws that were on the books but were being ignored. He also discovered a slew of new laws that he had no idea where they came from. What he could find was that they were added after the fourth Hokage died and he had taken up the mantle for the second time, and he was seriously beginning to regret ever letting the elders run the village's day-to-day operations. He sat back in his chair and opened a drawer on his desk, pulling out a photograph of himself and his 3 students. Remembering all the mistakes he made with them. First, he looks at Orochimaru, his biggest disappointment, and says, with a small frown, "You once had such promise." Turning to Tsunade, his only thought is, if only you could let go of the past. Then came his final student. "And you, Jiraiya, with all your great abilities. Minato and Kushina trusted you with their son, and you have never returned to check on him. Maybe if I send Naruto to you, Tsunade, he'll be able to persuade you to return. He always seemed to do the impossible." Hiruzen pulls out a piece of paper and decides to give Naruto his first rank mission as a Chunin once the finals are completed. We can only hope he doesn't push her too far because she has her grandmother's Uzumaki temper. I'm just glad Naruto didn't get it from his mother. Suddenly, he sees a red-haired Naruto with a bad temper, and he knows the village would not have survived. When he hears a knock at the door, he calls out for Amy, who walks in carrying a few large envelopes of papers and forms. "Good afternoon, Hokage-sama, you're free for the afternoon once you finish these," Amy stated. "Thank you. I'm just preparing a mission for Naruto. After the finals, I'll send him to return Tsunade to the village," Hiruzen explained. Amy bursts out laughing the moment she hears that. "I'll start the betting pool, Hokage-sama. How much should I put you down for?" Hiruzen sets his pen down. "Amy, what are you talking about now?" "Tsunade, if I know her, will either punch him back to the village or drag him back and beg you not to send him out after her again. There's also the possibility that she'll flatten him outright." As the sound of laughter echoes near the tower, the crowds come to a halt and look up, perplexed. Wave Academy, Main Lab, July 28, 1:52 p.m. Naruto sat at the main computer, searching for new techniques to learn. He'd spent the last few days training under his father, and the one thing Naruto had learned was that he was a slave driver when it came to training, which he didn't mind most of the time, but there were times when he just wanted to kick him in the balls. Aside from the training, they'd gone through all the wagons and were astounded by everything they discovered. According to his father, the money, along with all the precious metals, was greater than most of the clans in Konoha, and after sorting through everything, they knew where most of the artifacts were supposed to go and made plans to return them to the owners where possible. They'd also been able to establish the new clan with a plot of land for a new compound, as well as plenty of money and copies of the Jutsu scrolls, which were on the computer and contained the clan's history, thanks to a copy in Whirlpool's library. They thought they'd lost it when their country was destroyed and they were kidnapped. Fumi and her family had burst into tears when they saw the scroll boxes, especially after learning what was inside. Another thing that amused Naruto was the way his mother interacted with the children. On several occasions, she pretended to be no older than them. He realized where he got his personality and playful nature from. She'd spent the first day telling Aisha all about her biological grandmother Makoto, who happened to be one of her best academy friends. It had taken her most of the day to figure out how to turn on and off her Sharingan, but she did it like a true prodigy's daughter. Naruto also sat down with Hinata and Hanabi and told them who Aisha's father was and made it clear to both of them that the Hyuga vs Uchiha clan rivalry would not be transferred to his family. Needless to say, they were taken aback, but promised not to hold it against her because they both saw her as a little sister. Both have even stated that they will assist her with her Dujutsu because the Byakugan works similarly to the Sharingan. He also discovered how the Arrancar class hollow he now knows as Nell. That meeting still made him smile. Flashback. Naruto entered the medical wing, passing a few of the beds, most of which belonged to village residents who had not received medical treatment in a long time, including a few mothers who are expecting any day and are thrilled to finally have a hospital to give birth in. Prior to the hospital's construction, most babies were born at home, which was extremely dangerous. He'd smile and wave as he passed, and when he saw Hinata writing a letter to Kurenai, he made sure to stop and tell her that he'd send the letter when she was finished. She smiled and thanked him. Naruto had noticed that she had come out of her shell more since waking up. Both Hana and his mother told him it was mostly because she didn't have her father constantly looking down on her, she didn't have to worry about her sister's safety, and she was in a loving environment. Looking at the bedside table full of get-well cards made by her new brothers and sisters when they found out she was sick. As she approaches Neliel's bed, she has a large bowl of watermelon slices and is devouring them as quickly as he ate ramen, which made him chuckle. Naruto sat down after pulling up a chair. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm from Japan. Are you having a good time here?" Nell nods her head, her mouth full of watermelon. "That's great. I was hoping to ask you a few questions about how you got here." Nell gives him a look. "Alright, Narwa." Naruto sighs in friendly annoyance when he hears her mispronounce his name, and he can hear laughing, including from Hinata. Naruto chooses to begin with a simple question. "Okay, Nell, how did you get here?" "No," she says, shaking her head. "Alright, why don't you start at the beginning and tell me what you were doing before you fell through that hole?" Nell was playing hide and seek with her brothers in the forest of Manos when there was a large earthquake, which caused a large hole in the ground, into which Nell fell. Nell had been falling for a long time when she found herself in a large room filled with pictures of hollows. Nell was terrified. Nell then discovers this on the floor in the center of the room. She says this as she takes a scroll out of her mouth and hands it to Naruto. Naruto takes the drooled on, but mostly dry scroll and decides to look into it later. Though it's strange that she addresses herself by name, he can get used to it. "Alright, so what happened?" When Nell picked it up, there was a big black hole in the ground and Nell fell in, and now Nell is here. Nell stated. "Well, I guess we'll figure it out eventually. You just rest and do what the doctor says until she says you can leave." Naruto stated. Flashback concludes. When the door is thrown open and 3 of the children run in screaming for help, Naruto is jolted out of his memories. What exactly is going on? One of the boys takes a step forward. You have to help big brother, it's Fu, she's in trouble. Naruto massages his temples. What exactly has she done this time? One of the boys responds. She was playing in a cave because she saw a skull and crossbones sign and assumed it would be full of pirates, and now she's trapped. Naruto simply lowered his head. She's more trouble than she's worth. The ice cream stand, the incident with the firebrand sake, which she thought would allow her to breathe fire, and now this. I swear I'm ready to attach a leash to her. Okay, show me where she is so that we can get her out. Wave Academy, hallway, 4:20 p.m. Naruto looks up at his father as they walk down the corridor towards the training ground after spending 2 hours digging Fu out of the cave-in. What happened to the training equipment we left out this morning? Minato casts a downward glance at Naruto. I didn't do anything with it. I just left it on the practice field. I didn't see anything wrong with it. He spoke casually. Naruto came to a complete halt. Can I get this straight, Dad? You left a crate of water balloons unsupervised in a training ground with Mom and a bunch of kids, and you think this is a good idea? Minato sighed after a brief moment of thought. This isn't going to end well. Naruto mumbles to himself as they stand outside the door, staring at it. Just over a week until the finals. Kami, help me. Training facility 2. Away from everyone and everything, Kushina was on her knees, hands on Hanabi's shoulders, her head tilted downward enough to conceal her agony. And she hoped the other, more sexual, emotions coursing through her. Are you all right? Kushina-chan, I promise it was an accident. You surprised me and I just reacted. Hanabi stated that she could see the pain on Kushina's face, but she also knew Kushina had enjoyed it, which perplexed her. Kushina nodded, her mind racing. If Naruto found out what had happened, even if it was an accident, she could face serious consequences. Hanabi suddenly smiled as she had an inspiration. Do you know how to fight dirty, Kushina-chan? Kushina smiled as she raised her head slightly. Would you like to learn how to bust boys' balls and injure other girls and women's boobs and pussy? Hanabi blushed and smiled before nodding. I do, and before I died and before I came here, I was one of the best in Konoha and Whirlpool. Naruto delegated authority over the other kids to me and authorized me to kick them out if necessary. I don't want to be a kunoichi, but I do want to be able to defend and fight for my friends and family. Even though it was an accident, I was never supposed to kick certain people, and now that you're alive, I'll get in big trouble if he finds out, so I'd like to make a deal with you like Naruto did with me. I want you to promise not to tell anyone I kicked your pussy, and to train me in private to fight dirty, and I know you liked it but don't know why, so I can practice on you, dressed and naked, as part of my training. And in exchange, I'll assist you in any way I can in here, the village, or if I'm in Konoha, including beating up women you can't get to because you're trapped in here. Naruto, I've heard, doesn't want you or his father to leave or be recognized. Kushina was taken aback by the offer, especially since Hanabi made it, but she could see the girl's point of view and reasoning. Okay, Hanabi-chan, if you keep your promise, I'll keep mine. And you're right, neither I nor Minato can leave the bunker yet, and I could use an errand girl outside of here. Kushina said as she extended her hand, and Hanabi smiled and shook it. Then we've struck a deal. We'll begin your anatomy lessons tonight. Hanabi smiled and nodded, then helped her up as Naruto and Minato entered. Naruto walked into the room, which now resembled a forest, out into the right side of the clearing, and came to a halt. Hanabi and Kushina were about 15 feet to his right, and the rest of the kids and a few women were about 20 feet to his left, with broken balloons littering the ground. Many of the boys and girls had been hit in the crotch. The girls with boobs had their wet shirts clinging to their chests and highlighting them, as well as the few moms, who were all between AD and DD cup. One of them among the small Naruto let out a sigh. "I'm not going to clean this up." Hanabi turned around as Kushina approached. Both looked at each other, pointed, and exclaimed loudly. She came up with it. Despite being only 12 years old, Naruto suddenly felt older than his father. "I'm too old for this nonsense," he moaned. July 31st, 5:02 p.m., Konoha, Hokage's office. Ino had been summoned to the Hokage for a mission, which was normal, but her apparent teammates had her nervous because she was a new genin. There was her former teacher, two top kunoichi, and the last arrival was an Anbu kunoichi. So what the hell was she doing there? Hiruzen cleared his throat to get their attention. "You've been summoned for a specific mission. As you know, Naruto has been in wave training for the finals. Your primary mission is to bring him back and check on wave." They nodded. "However, in addition to how wave has prospered since Naruto freed them several months ago, I want to know what else Naruto has been doing. I've heard several rumors and would like them to be confirmed as true or false. You all know Naruto well, in your own way, and have specific skills and knowledge that together will give me a complete picture. You'll leave by sunrise tomorrow morning. Ino, can you keep up with them traveling at Chunin speed?" Ino looks thoughtful for a moment then nods. He gives her a small smile. "I doubt it will come up, but Kurenai is in charge of the mission. Neko will provide security, but again I doubt this will be an issue, if there are no questions." All five shook their heads no. "Then you're dismissed." They nodded and left. As the did he heard Anko turn to Ino and bet her if she could keep up and they made it in 4 hours she'd buy her a new outfit. If not, she had to buy Anko lunch when they got back, anywhere she wanted. He almost laughed when Ino agreed a little louder than she probably intended to. August 1st, 9 a.m., the Great Naruto Bridge. The Five-Leaf Ninja. Kurenai, Anko, Ino, Iruka and the Anbu Neko approach the bridge. Having walked the last few miles and now arrested, Ino smiled at Anko, who pouted back, slowly approached a little plaque on the entrance pole and reads the inscription about how Naruto inspired the country to stand up for themselves and brought hope back to them, and smiles. "I still can't believe that Knucklehead got a bridge named after him." As the group are reading the plaque, they didn't notice a guard approaching them until she cleared her throat. "Excuse me, can I see your identification please?" Turning to the sound of the voice, the Leaf Ninja see a woman with brown hair and breasts that dwarf theirs. A large D cup Ino figures accurately, the other 3 women guess a regular H cup. She's wearing a black shiakusha with a little piece of wood attached to her arm with the symbol for First Division carved into it. Kurenai, Anko, Ino and Neko quickly pull out identification and hand it to her. After reading it, she hands it back. "Everything looks good. May I see your identification, sir?" she said. All the women turn to see Iruka staring at her chest. Anko slaps the back of the head. "Get your head out of the gutter." After reading his identification as well, she turns to Kurenai. "Are you the leader of this group?" Kurenai nods her head. "Then you should be informed that behavior such as that is not tolerated in this village, and thanks to Uzumaki-sama we have new laws to prevent that from happening. I'll let it go this time, but if he does it again I will call for a battle of honor, which is my right as a kunoichi and a woman of this village." The 4 kunoichi send a burning glare at Iruka that promise death. "You have my apologies for his behavior, he's usually a gentleman," Kurenai said. "Now that we've taken care of that, what do you need?" The Wave kunoichi said. "We were hired by Naruto to help transport the children he recently adopted back to the village so he may fight in the finals of the Chunin exams Konoha is hosting," Kurenai replied. The brunette opened a satchel on her side and pulled out a clipboard. If you'll all sign in, I'll lead you to the academy. 9:21 a.m., Wave Village. As the group was walking through village, Anko turned to the brunette. So what's your name? The brunette's face goes red. My apologies, my name is Yui. Ino looks at Yui. So, what did you mean when you said you had laws in place to prevent men from staring at your body? One of the reasons is obvious. Yui has bigger breasts than most of the women on Konoha. In fact, the only woman she can think of as big is Sume Inuzuka. Well, you see, one of the new laws in this village is if a man is harassing a woman either by trying to touch her body or staring at her body inappropriately without her consent, she has the right to call for a battle of honor, and it is her choice of what field they will fight on. It could be anything from a taijutsu fight to a battle of intelligence. It's only limited by her imagination. The reason the law is written this way is because we know that some women are not always as strong as men, so always making it a taijutsu fight doesn't always help, so letting her choose the field of what we fight on makes it easier. This had all four of the women looking at her in shock. You say it was Naruto who helped you make this law? Ino asked. Yes, but depending on what he did, he can still face charges from the village. The battle of honor isn't just to cover the women's honor. Yui said. All four of the women have the same thought, that law should be integrated into the Leaf Village, each making plans to talk to the Hokage about it upon their return. Iruka had been walking at the back of their group thinking about his little brother and all that he had heard over the last month about his change in attitude, but he was broke out of his thoughts hearing four women cry out, "He did what?" A few moments ago. Anko moves up and looks at Yui. So what other things has he done? Yui smiles slightly. As you can tell, I'm extremely well endowed, so when I began my training as a kunoichi I had trouble with my breasts, and my back hurting, along with a few other women in the village, and when Uzumaki-sama heard about this, he was able to make a seal that goes on all of our bras that minimizes bouncing and makes our breasts feel lighter, which helps our back. All four of the women have the same thought. Get Naruto to help them and find a way to repay him. They're also making plans to spread the word among the secret women's channels in Konoha. 9:45 a.m., outside Wave Academy. Her back to the main door, Yui is telling them how this started.
You see, Uzumaki-sama originally was training just the children of the village, but seeing the children having so much fun, we decided to make our own ninja village, and I joined up because I don't have any family left, so I need something to do.
They can see a large training field off to the side. A woman with brown skin and long purple hair is chasing 5 girls around a training track throwing shuriken at them. They can also hear her shouting. Move your asses. Maybe now you'll focus on training, not reading fashion magazines. Anko is watching this with a giant grin. I like that woman. Neko nods her head. That's an effective way to get rid of fangirls. Ino looks at this in horror, thinking about if it had been at the academy and how many times she would have been chased around. Kurenai nods. I agree, if they're not willing to focus on their training they should be punished, though throwing the shuriken is a little much. Iruka just crosses his arm. That's no way to treat a student.
A stern lecture is what they need, not being chased around by a crazy teacher throwing weapons at them. She's giving teachers a bad name.
As he's glaring at Yoruichi, Iruka missed the 5 women glaring at him, each having the same thought, he's such an ass. Yui suppressed her temper. If you'll follow me I'll take you to Uzumaki-sama. 9:50 a.m., 2nd floor, Academy. As the group was walking down the hallway they can hear what sounds like a stampede coming towards them. From up ahead comes a stream of children and what appears to be 2 women, one wearing a cloak and a fox mask, the other a blonde with a chest that matched Yui's, wearing a shiakusho and holding a large tray of cookies. They stood to the side as the stampede passes them. Suddenly the group hears shouting from around the corner before a red-faced Hanabi appeared waving a rolling pin above her head, shouting about how she just made those cookies, and proceeds to chase the stampede, completely ignoring them. Ino smiled. That has to be the kids that Naruto adopted, only an Uzumaki can make that much of a racket first thing in the morning. The rest of the women laugh in agreement. Suddenly the group hears a small voice. Hey, I resent that comment. Looking back they can see a small boy with mud-brown hair wearing coveralls, but before they can say anything else he walks off. Classroom 3. As the group walks through one of the doors they find a classroom, and are shocked to find Naruto at the front writing on a chalkboard giving a lecture on the Hidden Leaf Village. So Hashirama Senju, and his brother Tobirama, decided to make a peace treaty after years of war with a longtime rival clan known as the Uchiha, led by Madara Uchiha. It was their idea to create a village where clans can come together and live in peace. Once these two clans agreed to peace they asked the family of Hashirama wife, Mito Uzumaki who's from Whirlpool, for help because her family was neutral and didn't get involved in the clan wars. They sent out notices to other clans that they knew of and offered them a place in this new village. There were 10 original clans in Konoha. In order these clans were the Senju, Uchiha, Uzumaki, the Yamanaka who brought their allies the Nara and Akamichi. The next clans to come were the Inuzuka, Aburame, Sarutobi and Namikaze. Eventually other clans came, such as the Hyuga and several others. Naruto said. They were shocked to see Naruto giving a lecture on the subject of the founding of Konoha in such detail. Ino, and the other Leaf Kunoichi smiled at this knowing that Naruto always hid his intelligence behind a mask. Iruka was the most shocked to see worst, but favorite, student give a lecture in such detail. Thinking about all the times that he misbehaved in class he decided to give him a little payback, pulled a piece of paper from a pouch, balled it up and prepared to throw it at Naruto's head. So after securing a piece of land from the fire daimyo they begin construction on the village and Lord Hashirama was named the first Hokage. Naruto stopped writing on the board. Mr. Amino, that had better be your homework you're about to throw, Naruto said without turning around. At this the entire class turned to the back of the classroom to see Iruka holding the ball of paper, ready to throw, making the entire class laugh. Well class, it seems like my escort is here, which means I have to return to my home village. I'm going to leave you all in the capable hands of your new teachers. Just remember every single ninja or kunoichi whoever came before you sat where you are right now as students and each and every single one of you has potential to reach higher than any of them. If you just put your heart and soul into it you can achieve anything you want. Okay class, your homework for tonight is a written report on the First Shinobi War. Why it was started and how it ended, due in 3 days. I'll leave a message for your new teacher tomorrow. Anybody who does not bring it in will get detention. To the amusement of the Leaf Nin the entire class goes ghost white and they start scrambling over each other to get away, promising to have it on the desk for the new teacher on time. Once the class had left Naruto is groped in a hug by Anko, his face buried in her chest. Hello Gaki. Once she is done hugging him Naruto takes deep breath. One of these days I'm going to get suffocated if all the women I know keep doing that to me. He mumbled under his breath. Oh stop complaining, you know you love it Gaki. Anko said. Before Naruto can comment he has a book shoved in front of his face, pushing it down he sees it's being held by Ino who's smiling. Knowing what she wants he takes the book, quickly signs it and hands it back only to be handed a second one from Neko, signing it as well. Once it was handed back to her it quickly disappeared within her cloak with both of them saying, "Thank you Naruto-kun." Before anybody could say anything else Iruka appeared in front of Naruto and began yelling at him. Just what do you think you are doing Naruto, have you gone crazy, you have betrayed your village. Naruto glares at him. What are you talking about Iruka? Holding up his hand Iruka begins to count off everything that he can. First you go to a different country, second you begin to train children that are not even from your village, third you help them start up a ninja program and help them make an academy. You have no business doing this as a genin, you don't have the knowledge or the skills to do this. This is borderline treason. Another thing that I've seen is you start helping make new laws that you have no right doing and hiring teachers who chase the students around throwing weapons at them. No, this not is right, and when we get back to Konoha I'm reporting this to the Hokage. You might be facing charges of high treason, and this time I'm not going to help you out. Before anything else is said, Anko hit Iruka in the back of the head, knocking him out. That idiot doesn't know what he's talking about, and to think I once looked up to him. Anko looked at Naruto. He did make a point, Gaki. Naruto just laughs and pulls out a scroll. Got that covered right here. The leader of Wave hired me through the Uzumaki clan to help them, not the village. This means I have not broken any laws. This makes the remaining women laugh as Ino walks up to Naruto and wraps her arm around his shoulder. That's my knucklehead. You always have a backup plan, but you're still in trouble, Naruto. Ino suddenly grabs his ear. What is this I'm hearing about you getting new clothes and then taking a bunch of kids shopping for new clothes as well, and not coming to get me? You know for a fact that I am the queen of fashion when it comes to clothes shopping, so Mr. Uzumaki, you better have a way to pay me back for that.
Anko, Kurenai and Neko, as well as Yui standing off to the side, laugh as Naruto's is getting chewed out by Ino for going on a shopping spree and not taking her.
So after getting his ass chewed out by Ino and promising to her to take her on a shopping spree with him agreeing to pay for it. So, would you ladies like a tour of the academy? Naruto said, and getting 4 nods Naruto walked over to his desk and pushed a button on a small device. Nemu-chan, I have an unconscious man laying in classroom 3, would you please put him in one of the living quarters for now? A few seconds later they can hear a female reply. Yes, Naruto-kun. Then he sent Yui back to her post. 12:03 p.m., second floor, hallway. Naruto spent the next 2 hours showing the women around the academy, the different classrooms, including some of the training rooms. As he was walking down the corridors he explained the truth of what the building was, knowing that he could trust these 4 women he left no secrets out. Except that his parents are now back amongst the living, and meeting the Sage of 6 Paths. At first the women were reluctant to believe him, but they eventually agreed not to say anything. One of the rooms that got the women excited was what is known as Sisters' Hall, which was a room that Naruto had set up with pictures of kunoichi from all over the world hanging on the walls, and was basically a lounge where they could go and sit down and not have to worry about men bothering them, as men were not permitted to enter the room. It also had a small library of scrolls along with a bar that had drinks and snacks available, that had earned him a kiss on the cheek, especially when he told them he was planning on building one in Konoha, with the 4 of them offering to help. As they were walking down the hallway Ino is telling Naruto all about the meeting they had at the Inuzuka compound with all the parents. I still couldn't believe it when I found out who your parents were, Naruto. Naruto laughed and scratched the back of his head. Yeah, it shocked me too. By the way, Naruto, I heard about what you did for Hinata and Hanabi, and word has already spread across the village, adding in that you reviewed that one law you have become quite popular amongst the women. I think you even have a fan club bigger than Sasuke now. To the amusement of the group, Naruto walked over to the wall and starts banging his head against it. Naruto finally turned back to the group. That's just what I need, he said, mostly to himself, but didn't even try to hide it. As Naruto continued the tour, suddenly Anko calls out, "Hey, what's this room?" The group steps up to the door. The sign says self-defense class. It's a self-defense class for civilians and leads them inside. A class is in session, a group of older women. As they enter the room they see one of the women who appeared to be at least in her 50s and a man wearing a big padded suit flying to the ground. Neko looks at Naruto. How did you get that guy to volunteer to do this for the class? Naruto smiles. He didn't volunteer, he was caught red-handed trying to grope a woman in the village and she decided to let the village handle it. he was sentenced to 200 hours of community service and fined 2,500 ryo. This is his punishment. I think it's a fitting punishment. The four women burst out laughing while hugging him. 12:20 p.m., main lab. A short time later Naruto leads them to the main lab and looks at Anko. Please have a seat. I want to take a look at your curse seal. Now that I have the knowledge of my clan on Fuinjutsu, I want to see if I can get rid of it. As he turns to one of the tables, Anko takes off her coat, and giving the others a perverted smile, she also removes her mesh shirt, fully exposing her large D-cup breasts.
Turning back to face Anko, Naruto face turns bright red. This amuses the other women. Then Naruto approaches Anko to look at the seal.
They're all surprised that Naruto is doing his best not to look at her chest, but they notice the large but subtle bulge in his pants. Anko sees also. Is that a kunai in your pants, or are you just happy to see me? I didn't know I would have that much effect on you, Naruto-kun. She said with a smirk, then looks over her shoulder at him. If you do manage to remove it, I might even let you touch them. Walking behind her to look at the seal, Naruto is doing his best to control his blush. It's a perfectly natural reaction for a boy who sees a topless girl, Anko-chan. Looking down at the cursed seal, Naruto began to feel the knowledge flow through his mind. After studying it for a few minutes, Naruto comes to the conclusion that he can in fact remove it now. I'm going to remove it, but it's going to hurt Anko. She nods, her expression clearly shows her trust in him. Naruto makes hand signs faster than any of them have ever seen. After the last sign that he places one hand on the seal and holding the second hand in a seal none of them had ever seen before, he calls out. Uzumaki secret Fuinjutsu style, key of twin souls release. The instant Naruto begins to remove it, Anko screams as a massive surge of chakra swirls around them. After a few moments the chakra disappears and Anko begins to fall forward. Reacting on instinct, Naruto goes to catch her and accidentally grabs one of her breasts. When she's sitting up again, Naruto steps back and looks at the three-leaf kunoichi. I didn't mean to do that, I promise. I just wanted to keep her from getting hurt, he said, knowing how the older women would react to a pervert. Kurenai spoke first. Naruto, neither I nor Yugo are upset, and I highly doubt Ino is going to do anything to you because, as you said, you were just trying to help her and we saw it was an accident, so you don't need to worry. Ino looks at Kurenai. Who's Yugo? That would be me, Neko said as she removed her mask, seeing no point in wearing it now. Naruto sighs with relief. Well, I got rid of the seal. Before Naruto could react, Anko stood, grabbed him in a hug and buried his face in her bare chest. I'm going to say this right now, whatever you want, no matter what it is, I'll do it. You want help training, you got it. You want me to kill someone, I'll do it. Hell, I'll even let you knock me up for this, Naruto-kun. She releases the hug with a genuine smile on her face. Naruto grabbed her shirt and threw it at her head. Just get dressed, we can discuss the payment later. Once Anko is fully dressed, Naruto turns to the others. Okay, let's go to the hospital wing so Kurenai can see Hinata-chan. I'm sure she'll be happy for the visitors, especially because she's been confined to bed since she got here and she's not happy about it, Naruto said, then grumbled. It's always the quiet ones you have to watch out for. This makes the four kunoichi laugh. Naruto then looks at Anko. Would you be willing to talk to someone for me? I can do that. Who am I talking to, Naruto-kun? Anko replied. You see, one of the first missions this village had was stopping a creature from attacking ships between here and sea country. It turns out it was a girl named Isaribi who was being manipulated by one of Orochimaru's flunkies. He'd convinced her that she was sick and he was helping her, but in reality he was doing experiments on her and she's been depressed ever since she found out the truth. I figure if anybody could help her it would be you, knowing how much you hate Orochimaru. Anko nods. I'd be happy to do it. Inside her head she thinks, you just can't leave people alone, can you Orochimaru? One of these days I will kill you. 12:32 p.m. Hallway, ground floor.
As the group is making its way towards the medical wing, they are looking over the new graduation requirement test and giving him their opinion on it.
I have to admit, Naruto, this is really impressive. Yugao said, getting agreements from Kurenai and Anko. But I have a question. Why do they need to witness an execution to graduate? Kurenai and Ino reacted mostly with shock, Anko just smiled. Naruto noticed their reactions, especially Anko's. I know that seems harsh for kids, but you can't argue that this life isn't for everyone, as Anko and I know from experience, the sooner you learn this the stronger you'll be. But I think the classes and in hard training should prepare them for this, and by graduation most of the weaker students will be gone by then. I'm not trying to be mean, but even when I graduated most of the class had never even been in a real fight or even suffered some kind of pain, physical or emotional. I'm one of the few that did, and look at me now. The three kunoichi nodded, they couldn't really argue with his logic. Anko didn't even want to, as she totally agreed. As much as I'd like to, I can't argue your logic. So, would you mind if I took this to the Hokage? He might just input this in the academy. I don't mind, if it can help make the village stronger, I don't see why not. Naruto replied. Okay Naruto, this is driving me crazy. Why is everybody wearing the same outfit? Seeing everybody wearing the same blue and white shiakusho for boys and red and white for the girls. When the academy began, they started getting fangirls who were more interested in fashion and trying to impress the boys than training, so I decided to make a suggestion for an academy uniform so they don't have to worry about trying to match clothes. The complete black one means that they're an advanced student or left the academy, but once you graduate completely it is optional if you want to wear it. You probably noticed that Yui didn't have a headband, but the little wooden square on her arm that had the symbol for First Division. Naruto said, and they nodded. When you graduate you're given one with the symbol for what division that you graduate into. You start off with a wooden one meaning you are the lowest rank, and as you go up in rank it changes material, with gold being the highest. That actually makes sense, Anko said. And by the way Naruto, we're going to be telling every female in Konoha about that seal for women's bras you made, and you know that's going to be really popular, especially in Choji's family. More than in any other clan, the Akamichi women have extremely large breasts and get them earlier than most. In fact, I've never seen an Akamichi girl younger than 10 with anything less than an C cup, and most of the women I've seen are between an H and J cup. Most of their girls have balance problems, and many of the older women have back pain, and not just because of their size, but I know from various sources hat is unlike most Akamichi women have very heavy breasts, they're mostly tissue, not fat. Which means their breasts are at least double the normal weight, and depending on how big they are that weight can be triple or even quadruple normal. And I want one before we head back to Konoha. Ino said. Kurenai and Yugo add that they want one as well. Naruto nodded, very impressed she knew so much about women's bodies. He reached into one of his pockets and pulled out several pieces of paper. Put one of these in each of your bra cups and channel chakra in them. Once activated they'll only last 4 hours. All three of the women put them in their pockets. Anko wraps her arms around Naruto's neck. What about me Naruto-kun? She said, giving him the puppy dog pout. Naruto just grins. I'll give you one when you start wearing a bra. If I remember correctly, you once said you would never wear one because they were not comfortable, and the last time I can remember you ever wearing one was because Kurenai forced you to. Besides, I think you're only a D cup and pretty firm anyway, you don't really need it. This makes the others laugh at her. What is this, pick on Anko Day? No, that's next month. Naruto replied calmly, making everybody burst out laughing hard. When they stop a minute later, everyone has stopped laughing, so Naruto knocks on the door to the medical wing. 12:36 p.m., hospital wing. As the group headed in, most of the patients were eating lunch. Walking down the aisle, they smiled at the patients as they headed for Hinata's. "Hey Hinata-chan, you got some visitors," Naruto said. She looked up from her book and glared at him. Naruto dropped his head. "Come on Hinata-chan, you can't still be mad at me, it's not my fault. With the number of times you've snuck out of a hospital, I think you would be able to help me out, Naruto-kun," Hinata said in a sarcastic tone. Naruto reaches out and hugs Ino. "You see what she does to me, Ino-chan," he said in a clearly fake, crying voice. Ino puts her hand on his face and gently shoves him back. "I'm not helping you on this one, Naruto." Looking at the three other women in the room, Naruto sees none of them are going to help him. "Well, you better get ready, we're going back to Konoha, the finals are in a couple days." As Naruto leads Anko to another bed, leaving behind the others to talk with Hinata, a sense of doom washed over his body. As they approach the next bed, the patient is sitting up, hugging her knees and softly crying. When she noticed them, she looked up and gave a small smile. He sits at the foot of the bed. "How are you doing today, Isaribi?" "I'm doing okay, Naruto-kun, but I had the dream again last night," Isaribi said in a soft whisper. Naruto reached out and took her hand. "Don't worry, it'll go away with time, but right now there's someone here I want you to meet." "Isaribi, this is Anko Mitarashi. I think the two of you could relate, so I've asked her to talk to you if you're willing." She gives a small nod. Naruto then stands up. "I'm going to go get my supplies, and I have to run back to the house to grab a few things I left there. I'll be back soon." He walked away waving. 2:57 p.m. Naruto turned to Tsunami. "If you ever need it again, just go to the academy and they'll help you get to my compound. You don't have to let your stress get this high again. I know you've been single for a long time and I know I'm a guy, but I happen to know that's not healthy to let yourself get this pent up. Now how about a shower?" Between heavy pants, Tsunami looked at him. "I promise. But I don't think I can walk." Naruto kisses her forehead. "The offer is always open if you need it, Tsunami. What if you get a girlfriend or a wife one day?" Tsunami asked. "The thing about that is I'm the lord of Whirlpool Country and the head of 2 clans that are all but extinct, so that probably means I'm going to have a CRAP put on me. That stands for Clan Resurrection Act program, and since I'm male and I have no blood relatives, this law basically allows me to take on multiple wives or concubines or anything else I want to rebuild both my clans. Yes, I adopted all those orphans, but because there was no Uzumaki or Namikaze blood in their veins, it doesn't count," Naruto said. "If that's the case, I might try to make at least one visit a month, if that's okay with you. It should help my urges," Tsunami replied. After giving Tsunami a little recharge with his chakra, since he had plenty to spare, they showered. Then as they were getting dressed, he told her about the village meeting, and when she asked how they'd get there without being late, he just smiled. Flashback, Academy Hospital Wing. The moment Naruto walked away, Kurenai grabbed Hinata in a motherly hug. "Oh Hinata, I was so scared when your father wouldn't let me see you after you got out of the hospital. Then Naruto told me what happened and I was ready to storm the compound, and I would have to. I was ready to kill your father when Naruto told me what he did to you. Just knowing that you were safe let me calm down. Now tell me everything that's happened to you and don't you dare leave anything out, Hinata." Hinata explains everything from the time that she was let out of the hospital, the fight in the dojo, and how she woke up and how she was scared when she first woke up, not knowing where she was, but explained that there was a kind doctor who said that a blonde-haired boy had brought her into the hospital. She automatically knew it had to have been Naruto, and how happy she was when her sister showed up and told her that they were now free from their father. that they never had to worry about the caged bird seal, and how excited she was when she learned that she now had over a dozen new brothers and sisters. I never thought I'd see the day when Hinata gets mad at Naruto. What'd he do to make you so mad? Ino said, not bothering to hide her smile. Hinata looks at Ino with an angry pout. He wouldn't help me get out of the hospital, and he kept using logic on me, saying I need to stay here. Up until about 2 weeks ago, I don't even think he knew how to use logic unless it involved setting up one of his pranks, getting out of trouble, or possibly figuring out new ways to get more ramen. All this did was set the 3 women off laughing at the pouting girl. Then Ino noticed something in Hinata's hair. Where did you get those hairpins, Hinata? They're kinda cute on you. Hinata blushed. Naruto-kun gave them to me. He said there's something special about them, but I had to figure it out myself. The 3 kunoichi exclaim. That is so cute, almost in unison. Then Ino began to explain what happened in her flower shop with Sakura. Kurenai looks across the room to Anko, who's now holding Isaribi. She knew even though Anko put on a brave face, acted tough, and that she didn't give a shit what people think, but deep down she was an emotional wreck after the betrayal of her sensei. Having heard what Naruto said about the girl, she knew that deep down it was Anko that would help her. They hear a new voice and turn to see a woman standing behind them. Hello. My name is Yuno Hana, and I apologize for interrupting your meeting, but I just received word from Mr. Uzumaki. He will be back soon and would like everybody to be outside. He also requested that you wear this, Hinata-chan. She then placed a box on the bed. You may use one of the changing rooms over there, she said, and took out a smaller box. I have taken the liberty of refilling your prescription, and I expect you to keep up on your medication until the 2 months are up, and if I find out you don't, I will pay you a doctor's visit, she said, then gave a scary smile, turned and went to another patient. Hinata opens the box and all the women gasp at what they see. A white yukata with beautiful, deep blue waves crashing at the bottom with the red Uzumaki family crest on it. Ino broke the silence a long moment later. I don't know about you, but I think he's definitely getting some brownie points for this. She sees Kurenai and Yugo smile and nod, then turns back to Hinata, but missed what she just said. Sorry, Hinata, I was distracted. What did you say? Hinata holds up 2 pieces of paper that the 3 women recognize. I said, what are these? Hinata replied. Ino smiles, knowing her large C cups can almost match Anko and Yugo, Kurenai's D cups, but beat them, but little Hinata beats Ino by about half a cup size, which means she really needs those seals. She leaned in and whispered the answer in her ear, which made Hinata turn bright red and pass out, to the amusement of everybody around her. End of flashback. 3:30 p.m., outside of the academy. All of the citizens of the village had gathered outside of the academy to pay their farewell to Naruto. Also in attendance was Fumi and her family. All the Uzumaki children are gathered together with the Leaf Group, and dressed in formal wear, which made most of the children complain about having to wear fancy clothes. The women who've been helping Naruto watch over the children were doing the best they can to keep the children from getting dirty. Surprisingly, half of them had decided to join Naruto on his trip back to the Leaf Village due to the fact they had nothing holding them wave, along with the 8 former slaves that saw it as a chance for a better life, all of them wearing plain white robes with their Uzumaki family seal on the back. Due to Naruto activating the machine over the last week, all of the remaining captains and other officers are gathered together, with the only one missing being Kenpachi Zaraki. Naruto suddenly appeared with Tsunami using Flash Step. To make sure she didn't fall, Naruto wrapped his arms around her. After regaining her balance, she placed a small kiss on Naruto's cheek, then walked with a slight limp to stand with her father and son. The moment she's standing next to him, Tizuna leans down by her ear. I'm not changing any diapers, he whispered.
Tsunami's face turned red before she hit his shoulder.
Inari looked up at his mom confused. He wished he'd been paying attention. What did Grandpa say, Mom? Never you mind, Inari, just grown-up stuff, Tsunami replied, then heard several of her nearby female friends giggle. Naruto is now standing on a small stage and clears his throat to get everyone's attention. I want to thank everybody for coming today. Behind me is your new academy. It's a place where you will come to learn to defend yourself, and when you enter this building you come in search of knowledge and you will learn new skills and new talents. While we will be able to teach you, it will be up to you alone to find what you want to do with your life. Maybe you are destined to join the 1st Division and be a paper pusher. Maybe you want to join the 4th Division to become a medic. Some of you might decide you want to join one of the Heavy Assault Division. But whatever division you decide to join, you can make the best of yourself. Just remember that knowledge is only useful if you're willing to put it to use, so do not spend all of your time reading books. Those books were written by people who went out and did the things in them. There's an old Uzumaki family saying, "You should not dwell in the past, for it has been set in stone and it cannot be changed, and do not focus solely on the future because it has not yet been written. You should concentrate your mind on the present moment and better yourself." Naruto stops a moment to let everyone absorb what he said. Okay. Now that we've got all that boring stuff out of the way, I have one more gift I want to give you. Back in Konoha we have something called a memorial stone. It's a stone that each ninja who is killed in combat gets their name engraved on it, and while we haven't had any deaths yet, I think this is appropriate. Naruto turns to Fumi. Were you able to construct what I asked? Fumi nodded proudly. Naruto turned back to the crowd. Fumi's clan has a Kekkei Genkai that allows them use Earth Chakra as ways most can't, which makes them excellent for digging mines. They can stabilize caves, make support beams in underground structures, but they can also use it to make sculptures. Naruto gives a look to Fumi, as she rolls out a scroll, then unseals a statue of Kaiza giving his signature pose of flexing his right bicep with his left hand on top. At the base of the statue is a small plaque which reads, "Start. To the future of Wave." If something is truly important to you, even it's heartbreaking, even if it's sorrowful, you keep on trying and trying. Even if you lose your life, you keep on protecting it with these two arms. Then, even if you die, you leave behind the proof that you are a man. Forever. End. The moment the citizens of Wave see this, it instantly brings tears to all of their eyes. Once Naruto steps off the stage, he is instantly tackled by a flying Inari and gives the boy a hug. Just make sure you train hard and make him proud of you. Naruto then walked over to the teachers and up to Kazuki Urahara. I will contact you soon so we can begin stage 1. Getting a nod, Naruto is grabbed and suddenly ears deep in huge breasts, Rangaku's from the field. Deciding to let her have a little fun, he lets it continue for a few minutes. Once free, he walks over to his favorite Wave family and is mentally thrilled to see Kaori and her father standing next to them. He can't keep the smile off his face. After greeting Tazuna, Tsunami, who blushed slightly, and Inari, as he stepped up to Kaori and her father. You must be Kaori's father, it's nice to finally meet you, he said, extended his hand and shook the man hand with a smile. I thought you'd like an update on one of our better new Kunoichi students, Naruto said, reached into his pouch and took out the picture he'd taken earlier. The Kamara Mayuri gave him was far better than what he'd seen in Konoha. He held it out and the man took it. Is it a picture of me, Daddy? Kaori asked, slightly nervous. Naruto noticed Inari was suddenly very interested in their conversation, but ignored him and how worried he looked. It's a picture of you, all right. Making out with Inari, her father said, clearly upset, and showed her the picture of her kissing Inari while he fondled her breasts. She quickly snatched the picture from his hand and stared at it in shock. She hadn't imagined it. Naruto had taken their picture. Naruto quickly dodged the angry father as he lunged for Inari, who took off with a scream of terror. Kaori quickly put the picture in her pocket, then took off after her father, yelling that she loved him and begging her father not to hurt him, and he swears he can heard the man threatening to make sure Inari never became a man. At his point he broke out in laughter, joined by most of the crowd, and oddly enough Tazuna and Tsunami, who also both had odd smiles as well. After a few minutes of entertainment, he found and headed for the Leaf Group and saw something he hoped he never would: Ino and Anko talking with Yoruichi. This was dangerous, though in a strangely good way, hoped for the best and approached anyway. Admittedly, after what he did with Tsunami, the idea of getting with Anko, Yoruichi or even Ino had a certain appeal, not to mention all the other beautiful women around Wave, not to mention in Konoha. And he definitely wouldn't object if Hinata wanted to either. He had a feeling Hanabi had feelings for him, but she wasn't old enough yet. "Did you really think you were going to be able to keep this from me, Naruto-kun? Hiding a fiancé?" Ino said with a smirk. Deciding to ignore her, Naruto looks at the group in front of him, all the adults and children that are now part of his family, along with both his mother and father at the back of the group, his mother wearing a black cloak with a gold vixen fox mask and his father wearing a similar cloak, with a male fox mask. He smiles hearing the kids complain about the clothes. "Don't worry, we want to make a good impression when we get back to Konoha. But Naruto, it'll take us at least a day to get back with this large of a group," Anko commented. "Don't worry, I got that covered. Where's Azuruka? He is still passed out." "Well, he can just catch up later," Naruto said, then turned to the crowd. "Good luck everybody, I'll be back as soon as I can." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small device no one had seen before. Whispering into it, suddenly a paper door appears out of thin air. "Come on everybody, let's go," Naruto exclaims, then leads the group through the door. 3:45 p.m., Konoha front gate. It was just another boring day in the life of the eternal Chunin Kotetsu Hagane and Izumo Kamizuki, when suddenly they hear noise coming down the road. Turning to the right, they see a large group of people marching down the road. After a few moments, they see dozens of children along with a handful of men and women in expensive-looking yukatas, with 4 men carrying a palanquin on their shoulders. When they reach the gate, they're shocked to see it's Naruto riding in the palanquin and wearing clothes fit for a noble, including a headpiece. Even more shocking is that behind him a group of big men and are each holding a rope. What's shocking is that the ropes are tied to a house-sized balloon that's as a chibi version of the Kyuubi. The palanquin has the royal flags of Whirlpool Country flying off it. Due to his status, his group does not have to stop and sign in, and they proceed to march down the main strip of the village, with all the children walking single file alongside the palanquin, with the women carrying the infants behind them to make sure they don't get hurt. As the crowd parted, many of the villagers glared at Naruto, who just ignored them as he smiled and waved at the many girls and women who smiled excitedly at him. After coming through the door, they were only about half a mile from the gate, just past the big hill, so it wasn't much a walk. Setting this up was easy, as it was all sealed in a few scrolls. He'd gotten the idea from Mayuri, a movie his world specifically. He watched it recently to see how their movies compared to those on his world. This one was animated. The main character lived in a village, the desert, was dirt poor and had a little companion, a monkey. The idea was from one of his favorite scenes. The blue guy with all the cool powers did it, and was probably the funniest person he'd ever heard in his life. Though Mayuri had to explain most of the references and jokes to him afterwards, which just made them funnier. Using shadow clones and henges, he could have done a lot more, but a parade like that was way over the top, even for him. Even using a shinobi version of the song just felt like a bit too much. Even if he was technically a prince. Halfway to the tower, Anko turned to him. She was walking next to him like a bodyguard. "Is this really necessary, Naruto?" She honestly loved it, but the occasion didn't call for this kind of flashy entrance in her opinion. He is just coming back for the Chunin exam finals. "As a noble, I have to set an example. Just be glad I didn't come riding in on an elephant." Aisha laughed excitedly. "I wish you had, because that would have been so cool, big brother." Naruto looked down at her in front of Anko. She could have ridden with him but wanted to walk. "I agree, but where was I going to get an elephant?" "The circus, of course." Aisha replied with an innocent smile, which made the entire group and several of the civilians laugh. 4:10 p.m., Hokage Tower. Once the group was standing outside the tower, Hiruzen and Amy walked out. He had a small frown. Was the big parade really necessary, Naruto? Naruto glares at him. That's Lord Uzumaki to you, Hiruzen. He looks at Amy. How was your month? Amy hit him over the head with a magazine. You want to know how my month was? Do you know how much paperwork I had to fill out to get all those orphans part of your family? It took me 3 days, 3 days, Naruto. Then by the love of Kami, I've had a non-stop flow of women coming in giving me even more paperwork. As she continued to rant about how much extra work he had given her and continued assault on his head, to the amusement of everybody around her. The only thought going through Naruto's mind is, after the finals I need a vacation, as he tried to duck under another hit.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.